Part 1. The calm before the storm. The room was quiet, too quiet. I sat on the hospital bed, a soft blanket draped over my legs, my hands resting gently on my swollen belly. The nurses had just left after running their final checks. Everything was ready. I was supposed to give birth today. But I wasn't nervous. I wasn't scared. Because I knew, this wasn't just about giving birth. It was about ending everything. Outside the window, the sun was setting slowly, casting golden rays through the blinds. The glow touched my face, but there was no warmth in my heart. I stared blankly at the door, waiting. My fingers curled around the edge of the blanket as my mind replayed everything that had brought me to this moment. I had once loved Jason Miller with all my heart. A military man, tall, sharp, and confident. When he proposed, I thought I was the luckiest woman alive. We married quickly, and I moved into the military family compound, thinking I had found my forever. But forever was a lie. Jason changed after marriage. He became cold, distant. He didn't touch me. He barely spoke to me unless it was to criticize or insult me. His mother, strict, prideful, and heartless, treated me like a maid. And still, I stayed. For the sake of love. For the child growing inside me. Then came Zoe Young. The war widow. Sweet. Quiet. Respectful. That's how she introduced herself when Jason brought her home, claiming she was the widow of a fallen comrade. The military respected her. Jason's mother adored her. And me? I was suddenly invisible. They let Zoe stay in our home, eat our food, sleep in the guest room, and slowly, she took over everything. I saw the way Jason looked at her. I heard the whispers. But I kept quiet. I hoped it would pass. It didn't. I became the outsider in my own marriage. And when I found out the truth, what Jason and Zoe were really planning, it shattered me. They weren't just having an affair. They wanted to take my baby. They wanted to switch it with Zoe's child. A baby she had with another man. A black man. That was the plan, to frame me, destroy me, and live happily ever after. But I wasn't the same naive girl anymore. This time I would fight back. Earlier that day, I had quietly made a call. A serious call. To the Military Discipline Committee. I want to report an officer, I said clearly into the phone. Major Jason Miller. And a civilian named Zoe Young. They've committed serious misconduct. The voice on the other end went still. Who is this? Elena Miller. His wife. There was a pause. Then, we'll be there within the hour. Now, as the door creaked open again, I turned my head calmly. Jason entered first, followed by Zoe and his mother. Zoe looked weak, pale, like she'd just given birth, which she had. Jason's mother held a bundle in her arms, wrapped in a soft blue blanket. That's your baby, Jason said coldly. Don't say we never gave you anything. Zoe lowered her head, trying to look pitiful. I gave them a soft smile. Is that so? Just then, the door burst open again, this time, not with quiet footsteps, but with boots. Military boots. The officers from the committee stormed in, sharp-eyed and alert. Their leader, a tall man with a cold voice, stepped forward. Jason Miller? He asked. Jason's face paled. Yes, sir? You're under investigation for misconduct, abuse of power, and conspiracy. Jason's mother panicked. Wait, no. He's a good man. He's about to be promoted. You can't just, I'm the one who reported him, I said loudly, stepping off the bed. Everyone turned. I'm reporting Jason Miller for abusing his authority, engaging in an improper relationship with Zoe Young, and attempting to swap my baby with Zoe's illegitimate child. The room exploded into gasps. Zoe's face turned ghost white. Jason stepped forward. You're lying. You have no proof. I looked him in the eyes, steady and cold. I've known your scheme for a long time. 6 months, in fact. I've just been waiting. Sweat formed on his forehead. I have doctors. Witnesses, he shouted. They can prove you gave birth to that black baby. I raised an eyebrow. Really? Then let's see the baby you're so proud of. Jason's hands were shaking as he turned to his mother and took the bundle from her arms. He clutched it nervously, holding it out like a shield. Something wasn't right. The baby hadn't cried once. Jason looked down slowly. His face changed. The weight wasn't right. The feel wasn't right. His hands began to tremble. I stepped forward, yanked the bundle from his arms, and flung it to the floor. Thud. Everyone turned to look. Lying on the floor was not a baby. It was a brick. A plain, heavy brick wrapped in a blanket. On its surface, written in thick black ink, were the words, Jason Miller and Zoe Young, may you both die miserable deaths. Silence. Then chaos. Zoe screamed. Jason backed away, pale as a ghost. Where's the baby? What did you do? I looked him straight in the eye. Gone. 6 months ago. He staggered. What? No, impossible. You had a belly. I smiled coldly. You hit your pregnant wife to protect your mistress. You never thought I'd fight back. But the day you slapped me, I went to the hospital and had the baby removed. Jason's knees buckled. Zoe clung to him, terrified. I continued, ice in my voice. I have the medical records. I have witnesses. Your plan to destroy me? It's already dead. The officers didn't hesitate. Take them. Jason shouted, no. Wait. She's lying. But the handcuffs clicked. And it was over. Part 2. Tangled Games. Elena stood at the mansion gate, still dressed in her wedding gown, feeling like a guest in someone else's life. The night breeze chilled her bare shoulders, but her heart was colder. She had agreed to marry Jason, but everything felt fake, except her pain. Inside, Jason led her through the grand hallway. You'll stay in the East Wing. Your things will be moved there. East Wing? Not our room? Elena didn't react. She simply nodded. Jason opened the door for her. This is just for show. Don't forget that. Elena smiled tightly. I know. I won't forget. As he left, Jason paused. For a moment, his eyes looked conflicted, but only for a moment. When the door closed, Elena sat on the edge of the bed and whispered, You destroyed me, Jason. Now I'll destroy you, too. The next morning, the mansion was alive with whispers. Staff walked on eggshells around the new Mrs. Knight. But Elena wasn't paying attention to gossip. She was focused on her plan. First, gain trust. Second, find the truth behind Zoe's betrayal. Third, make Jason regret everything. She walked into the dining hall, where Jason sat reading the newspaper. He barely glanced up. Good morning, she said sweetly. Jason looked at her with narrowed eyes. You don't need to pretend. There's no one here to impress. She sat across from him. I'm not pretending. I'm just doing what a good wife should. He flinched, just slightly. I made breakfast, she added, pushing a plate toward him. Just how you like it. He hesitated, then picked up his fork. Elena smiled inside. Let the game begin. Days passed. Elena played her role perfectly. Sweet. Obedient. Supportive. Just the way Jason would expect his wife to be. But every kind word she gave him was dipped in poison. He didn't notice. Not yet. At a charity event, reporters surrounded them. Elena held Jason's arm and leaned close. How did you two meet? One asked. Jason tensed. Elena answered smoothly. We met years ago at a family event. It was love at first sight. But life pulled us apart. Fate brought us back together. Jason glanced at her, surprised by the lie. She smiled up at him. After the event, in the car, Jason asked, "Why did you say that? You didn't want me to say we were forced into marriage, did you?" He didn't respond. "I'm just helping your image," she added softly. He looked out the window, but his jaw was tight. Later that week, Elena found an old photo of Jason and Zoe in the study. They looked happy, like the perfect couple. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. "Zoe," she whispered, "you always got everything you wanted. But now you'll pay." Suddenly, a voice behind her, "Don't touch that." She turned. Jason stood in the doorway. "I was just cleaning," she said calmly. Jason stepped forward and took the photo from her hands. "You're not her. Don't act like you are." He didn't wait for a reply. He left, slamming the door. Elena stared at the spot where he stood. "I'm not Zoe," she whispered. "But I'll be worse." Elena's plan took its next step when she arranged a surprise meeting with Zoe, pretending it was by accident. She ran into her at a fashion boutique. "Elena?" Zoe blinked. "Wow, I didn't expect to see you." Elena smiled sweetly. "Zoe. It's been a while." Zoe glanced at her ring. "So, it's true? You married Jason?" Elena nodded. "Yes. We're happy." Zoe's lips twitched, almost a smirk. "That's surprising." Elena leaned in. "You look nervous, Zoe. Are you afraid of me?" Zoe laughed. "Why would I be afraid?" "You tell me," Elena said. "You're the one who stabbed me in the back." Zoe's smile dropped. Before she could respond, Elena walked away. Jason began to notice things. His staff suddenly liked Elena. His mother called to say how graceful Elena looked in the papers. Investors congratulated him on finding such a perfect woman. And Elena? She never complained. Never cried. Never begged for attention. It was unsettling. One night, he caught her on the phone, laughing softly. "Who were you talking to?" he asked. "An old friend," she said, placing her phone down. "Jealous?" He frowned. "I don't get jealous." "Of course you don't," she said with a mocking smile. Jason walked away, but her voice followed him. "You're starting to care, Jason. I can see it." Elena met secretly with an old acquaintance. Luke, Jason's ex-business partner. "Still want revenge?" she asked him. Luke nodded. "Jason ruined me." "Good," Elena said. "Let's work together." She gave him documents Jason had hidden, plans, contracts, deals that were questionable. Luke's eyes widened. "Where did you get these?" "Does it matter?" she said coldly. "I told you. I'm his wife now. I have access." They shook hands. Phase 2 had begun. One evening, Elena got a fever. She collapsed in the hallway. Jason found her and rushed her to bed. "Why didn't you say you were sick?" She was weak, sweating. "Because you wouldn't care." He stayed with her all night. Changed her towels. Brought her water. She watched him with half-lidded eyes. Maybe, he still had a heart. But no. She couldn't afford to believe that. Meanwhile, Zoe wasn't sitting quietly. She visited Jason's office one morning. "I want him back," she told herself in the mirror. "And no one will stop me. Not even Elena." She found a way to contact Jason. An anonymous message. "Meet me. I have something to tell you about Elena." She hit send and smiled. Elena might think she's winning, but she had no idea what Zoe was planning next. Back at the mansion, Jason grew colder again. Distant. Elena noticed. "You met her, didn't you?" she asked one evening. He didn't answer. "Zoe," she said. "You met Zoe." Still, silence. Elena stood. You want her back. But she only wants to destroy you. Jason snapped, and what do you want, Elena? She stared into his eyes. I want justice. He looked shaken. For what? Elena smiled sadly. You already know. He didn't reply. But his hands were trembling. Part 3, Secrets Under Fire. Jason sat alone in his study, the message from Zoe burning in his mind. She's not who you think she is. He didn't trust Zoe anymore. But doubt had already entered his heart. He looked through Elena's things when she wasn't around. In her drawer, he found a photo, Elena with a man he didn't recognize. They looked close. Too close. His heart tightened. Who was this man? And why did it bother him so much? Elena watched Jason from the balcony. She saw the worry in his eyes. The photo had worked. She had left it there on purpose. Her plan was moving faster now. Luke had already exposed one of Jason's hidden offshore accounts. News was beginning to leak to the business press. Jason hadn't connected it to her yet. But it was only a matter of time. She had to strike before he found out. Jason hired a private investigator. Within a day, the report landed on his desk. The man in the photo was Richard Kim. Elena's childhood friend. A journalist. But that wasn't the shocking part. Richard had been asking questions. About Jason. About Zoe. About the real reason behind the marriage. Jason's eyes narrowed. Was Elena feeding him information? Who is Richard Kim? Jason asked Elena that night. She turned slowly. An old friend. Why? He's been asking questions about me. Elena raised an eyebrow. Are you scared, Jason? Should I be? She stepped closer. Only if you have something to hide. Jason grabbed her arm. Don't play games with me. Let go, she whispered. Or you'll regret it. He did. Because in her eyes, he saw something dangerous. And familiar. Zoe wasn't finished. She met with a board member from Jason's company. Spread whispers about his unstable marriage. Questioned his judgment. He married her out of nowhere. Doesn't that seem odd? It didn't take much. Just a little poison. A little doubt. She smiled as she left the meeting. Let them eat each other alive. Elena discovered a locked door in Jason's study. One night, when he was out, she used the keys she had stolen. Inside was a hidden room. Old letters. Photos. Documents. One envelope was labeled, Zoe, confidential. She opened it. And what she read made her blood run cold. Jason had known about Zoe's betrayal long before their wedding. He had evidence. But he never used it. Why? Jason sat by the fireplace, drinking. He couldn't sleep. Elena was getting under his skin. Not because she was suspicious, but because he was starting to feel something. He hated it. She was dangerous. But he couldn't stay away. Richard Kim visited the mansion, pretending to drop off something for Elena. Jason saw them talking. Laughing. Later, when Richard left, Jason grabbed Elena. If you want him, go with him. Elena looked at him coldly. Is that what you want? For me to leave? Jason didn't answer. Because he didn't know. That night, Elena got a message from an unknown number. They know what you're doing. Be careful. Zoe is watching. She stared at the screen. Was it Luke? Or someone else? She didn't have time to figure it out. Because the war she started was closing in. Jason entered Elena's room late that night. Tell me the truth. Why did you marry me? Elena looked at him, tired. Because you destroyed me. And I wanted to return the favor. Silence. Jason turned to leave. But now, she added, I don't know what I want anymore. He stopped. Neither did he. Part 4, Shadows of a Broken Heart. The cold night air brushed against Elena's skin as she stood on the hotel balcony, staring blankly at the city lights below. The glass in her hand trembled slightly. The memory of Karina's cruel smile and Eric's silence played in her head over and over like a broken song. I was nothing to them, she whispered to herself. Just a fool in love. The betrayal had dug deep. Not only did Eric cheat, he married Karina, her former best friend. And worse, Karina acted like she'd won a prize. Elena placed the glass down and walked back inside. No more tears. No more pain. She had buried that weak, heartbroken girl. The new Elena only had one goal, revenge. The plan begins. Over the past week, Elena had kept quiet. No dramatic outbursts. No screaming scenes. She stayed calm, but behind closed doors, she was working non-stop. With Jason's help, she collected all the information she needed, business records, bank transactions, even hidden documents that proved Karina had stolen not only her fiancé but her ideas and hard work too. Karina had used Elena's fashion sketches and passed them off as her own in Eric's new startup. The company that Eric launched recently with Karina's creative genius? Those designs were Elena's from a locked drawer in her old apartment. Jason held out a folder. I found everything. The files are real. She even changed her signature on some papers. Elena clenched her fists. She stole my work. And he used it to build a business behind my back. They're playing dirty. But we can play smarter, Jason said, eyes cold with anger. A dangerous game. Jason and Elena started feeding false information into Karina's team. Fake sketches. Ideas that would ruin her public image. Elena used a fake email account and pretended to be a desperate fan offering her help. Karina took the bait. Soon, Karina's brand launched a new line, only to be accused of copying another designer overseas. The scandal exploded online. What happened? Karina screamed at her staff in the showroom. These sketches were mine. Eric's company stock began to fall. Angry customers demanded refunds. News outlets started asking questions. Jason and Elena watched from a distance. This is just the beginning, Elena said softly, her eyes locked on the screen. A face from the past. One afternoon, Elena sat in a cafe with Jason, planning their next move. A woman walked in, tall, confident, older. Elena? Elena turned and froze. Aunt Celeste? Her mother's older sister had vanished from their lives years ago after a family fight. No one had heard from her since. I heard about everything, Aunt Celeste said, sitting down. I always believed in you. And I have something for you, something your mother left behind. From her purse, she pulled out a small envelope. Elena opened it slowly. Inside was a letter. And a deed. Her mother had secretly purchased a small boutique space in the heart of the city before she died. She'd hoped Elena would one day use it to start her own brand. Tears filled Elena's eyes. She believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Jason placed a gentle hand on hers. This is your second chance. Rising from the ashes. With the help of Aunt Celeste, Elena launched her own fashion brand, under her real name. No tricks, no lies. The boutique was small but charming. It opened quietly, without a press release or party. But within a week, word of mouth spread. Elena's unique designs, her bold but graceful style, people were drawn in. Even some of Eric's old investors started reaching out. At the same time, Jason introduced her to a few connections in the fashion world, old friend DS from abroad who owed him favors. Elena's name slowly began to appear in magazines and blogs, her story gaining sympathy and admiration. Who is this mysterious designer rising from nowhere? Headlines asked. Karina watched the news in rage. She's copying me again. But deep down, she knew the truth. The world was starting to see who the real talent was. A crack in the marriage. One late night, Eric sat on the edge of the bed, staring at Karina's back. "She's everywhere," he muttered. "Elin. A's name. Her designs. People are comparing her to you." Karina flipped over angrily. "So what? She's just trying to ruin us." Eric frowned. "She's not even saying anything. She's just working." Karina's eyes narrowed. "Are you regretting something, Eric?" He looked at her silently. The truth was, he missed the quiet strength Elena once gave him. Her steady love. Karina was exciting, yes, but also wild, unpredictable, and selfish. Lately, all they did was fight. He didn't say anything. But the silence was loud enough for Karina to hear. The confrontation. Weeks later, at a major fashion event, Elena made her first public appearance. Wearing a dress of her own design, she walked onto the red carpet with confidence. Jason stood beside her, dashing and proud. Photographers clicked nonstop. Reporters rushed forward. Elena, how does it feel to be back?" "I never left," she said with a calm smile. In the crowd, Karina stood with Eric, watching from a distance. Her face pale. Her jaw tight. When Elena passed by, Karina stepped forward. "Elena. We need to talk." Elena turned slowly. "About what?" "How you stole my life." Eric winced. "I didn't steal it." "You weren't strong enough to keep it," Karina hissed. Elena raised an eyebrow. "Then why does it feel like you're the one losing now?" Jason stepped closer, protective. "We don't have time for this." But Elena smiled coldly. "It's okay, Jason. Let them watch. They need to see what real strength looks like." She walked away, her head held high. An unexpected offer. Days later, Elena received a letter. From Eric. It was short. "Elena, I know I failed you. I chose wrong. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. Can we talk, just once?" Elena read it, then folded the paper and set it aside. Jason noticed but didn't comment. "What will you do?" "I'll talk to him," she said calmly. "Not for closure. But to show him that I've changed." Jason hesitated. "You're not planning to take him back, are you?" Elena shook her head with a sad smile. He had his chance. And he lost it. Part 5, Echoes of Truth and Fire. A quiet cafe, a loud truth. Elena sat by the window of a quiet cafe, her fingers wrapped around a warm cup of coffee. Rain drizzled outside, matching the uneasy silence between her and the man sitting across from her. Eric. He looked tired. Not just physically, but emotionally drained. The once proud confident he carried had faded. Now, all that remained was a man full of regret. "Elena," he started, his voice low, "thank you for meeting me." "I didn't come here for you," she replied calmly. "I came for myself." Eric nodded, accepting the cold truth. "I deserve that." There was a long pause. He finally spoke again, softly. "I wanted to say I'm sorry. Not just for cheating. But for everything I let happen." "You didn't just let it happen," Elena said, locking eyes with him. "You chose it." His hands trembled slightly as he ran a hand through his hair. "You're right. I was weak. Karina made me feel powerful. She made me feel like I could be more than just a failure." Elena looked at him, puzzled. Failure? I was drowning in debt. My business was falling apart. Karina came in with your designs and claimed they were hers. She promised me everything: success, money, fame. I knew they were yours, but I let her lie. I was afraid to lose it all. Elena's heart tightened. Not with love, but with anger. You sold my dreams, to save your pride. Eric lowered his head. I regret it every single day. She stood up, her voice steady. Regret won't fix what's broken. I gave you my heart, and you broke it into pieces. And now? I don't want it back. She left him sitting there, alone with the truth. The storm within Jason. Later that evening, Jason found Elena sitting in her boutique, staring out the window. You okay? He asked gently. I talked to him, she replied without turning around. He told me the truth. Jason stayed silent, waiting. He knew everything. From the start. And he still picked her. Her voice didn't shake, but pain flickered in her eyes. He said he did it for success. For pride. Jason clenched his jaw. He's a coward. Elena turned to him, her voice soft. You know what's funny? I thought hearing the truth would make me feel better. But it didn't. It just made me feel empty. Jason walked closer and Dee sat beside her. Maybe because you expected more. Maybe, she whispered. For a moment, they sat in silence. Then Jason turned to her, his voice barely above a whisper. You're the strongest person I know, Elena. And no matter how broken you feel, you're still standing. Elena looked at him, and for the first time, she saw something different in his eyes, something deep, something warm. She blinked, unsure what it meant. But her heart skipped. Karina's last card. Across town, Karina paced her apartment like a lion in a cage. The media had turned against her. Designers were calling her a fraud. Investors were pulling out. And worst of all, Eric was distant, cold, and distracted. She's destroying everything, Karina hissed. That which is ruining my life. Her assistant entered carefully. Ma'am, we've lost another sponsor. Karina threw a vase across the room, glass shot Aaron. Gee. No. I won't lose. I can't lose. Then, a wicked smile slowly formed on her lips. If she wants to play dirty, I'll play dirtier. She reached into her drawer and pulled out a USB drive. Time to remind everyone of Elena's past, the part she worked so hard to hide. The scandal breaks. The next morning, Elena's phone buzzed nonstop. Jason rushed in with a panicked look. Elena. You need to see this. He handed her the tablet. A blog post was going viral. Secret past of fashion's risen. G-star, Elena's family scandal exposed. The article dug deep into Elena's childhood, her father's debts, her mother's unpaid loans, rumors of bankruptcy, and accusations of theft from her mother's old employer. Photos. Bank slips. Lies mixed with just enough truth to make people believe it. They're trying to bury you, Jason muttered. This is Karina's doing. Elena took a deep breath. Then let her dig. I'm not afraid anymore. She walked to the boutique's front door, flipped the sign to closed, and turned to Jason. Help me write a statement. The truth. All of it. The power of truth. Later that day, Elena went live on social media. She sat in her boutique, no makeup, no fancy lights, just raw honesty. My name is Elena Reyes. And I'm here to tell my story, not the version others want you to believe, but the real one. She spoke about her childhood, her mother's struggles, how they were tricked by dishonest people, and how they worked hard to rebuild. My past doesn't define my talent. My mistakes don't erase my worth. I'm not perfect. But I am real. Tears flowed in the comments. People applauded her bravery. Her live video hit 1 million views within hours. The media flipped. Now the story was about Elena's strength, not shame. Even bigger designers began reaching out, offering support and collaborations. Jason watched from the side, heart full of pride, and something else. Love. A confession waiting to happen. That night, Jason invited Elin to the rooftop of his apartment. The stars shone above them, and the city lights glittered below. I wanted to show you this view, he said. It's my favorite place when I need to think. Elena smiled. It's beautiful. Jason turned to her, his voice serious. There's something I've been keeping inside, Elena. And if I don't say it now, I'll regret it forever. She looked at him, surprised. I care about you. Not just as a friend. Not just because of what we've been through. But because, somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you. Elena's eyes widened. Her heart pounded. I didn't plan it. I didn't expect it. But I can't hide it anymore. Silence hung in the air like fog. Jason waited, afraid of her answer. Elena stepped closer. You've been by my side through everything. You saw me at my worst, and you stayed. He held his breath. She touched his hand gently. I'm not ready to say I'm in love again. But I want to try. With you. Jason smiled, pulling her in. To a quiet, warm embrace. Karina's final move. But Karina wasn't finished. The scandal had backfired, and now she was desperate. Her company was crumbling. Eric barely spoke to her. And every time she turned on the news, Elena's face was there, strong, graceful, and rising higher. So Karina made one last move. She arranged a private meeting with one of Elena's largest investors. She offered them a deal, help her bring Elena down, and she'd give them insider info and fake documents to prove Elena was stealing from her. But what Karina didn't know? The investor was already working with Jason. And Jason had recorded the entire meeting. Part 6, Rising from the Ashes. The trap is set. In a sleek office downtown, Jason leaned back in his chair, watching the recorded video of Karina. She sat across from a top investor, her voice sharp and desperate. Elena is not who she says she is, Karina said on the video. I have fake documents, emails, anything you need. Help me take her down, and I'll make you rich. Jason paused the video and turned to the investor, Mr. Lang, a tall, sharp-eyed businessman with decades of experience. She just signed her own downfall, Jason said. Mr. Lang nodded. I've dealt with snakes before, but this one's something else. Jason stood. It's time the world saw her true face. The press conference. The next morning, Elena stood in front of flashing cameras and crowded reporters. She wore a sleek black dress and no jewelry, simple, powerful, and strong. Jason stood beside her. I never imagined I'd have to defend myself twice in one lifetime, Elena began. But here I am. And this time, I come with proof. Jason stepped forward and played the recording of Karina's secret meeting. Gasps echoed through the room. Reporters shouted questions. Phones buzzed as the video went viral in real time. Elena, "What's your response to these lies?" one reporter asked. She smiled calmly. "I don't need to respond. Karina already told the truth for me." Karina's downfall. Karina's world collapsed faster than she could react. Her company stock dropped to nothing. Her sponsors cut all ties. Former allies turned their backs. Even Eric, the man she once used and manipulated, Finn. Ally, saw her for what she was. "You destroyed 2 lives and called it ambition," he said bitterly. "I lost the woman I loved because I believed your lies." Karina screamed at him, her face twisted with rage. "You loved her? Then why did you cheat?" "I was stupid," Eric whispered. "But now I know what real poison looks like. And it's you." He walked away, leaving her standing in the ruins of the empire she tried to steal. One last goodbye. Elena sat by the lake, the same place where she once dreamed of building a future with Eric. She didn't cry. Not anymore. Eric approached quietly. "I heard you cleared your name," he said softly. She nodded. "I did." "I'm sorry again," he said. "I wish I could undo what I did." "I know," she said, staring at the water. "But some things can't be undone. They can only be left behind." He looked down. "Are you happy now?" Elena stood. "Not yet. But I'm getting there. Without you." She walked away, light on her feet, free from the weight of a toxic love. A new chapter begins. 1 month later. Elena's boutique had expanded. Her designs were now in magazines, fashion shows, and luxury stores. She was rising like never before. Jason stood beside her at the opening of her second store. "You've done it," he said, smiling. "You've built something amazing." She looked at him, heart full. "We did it." Jason blushed. "You sure you're okay with us being a thing?" "I'm not exactly Prince Charming." She laughed. "Good. I don't want Prince Charming. I want the guy who stood by me when everyone else left." He held her hand. "I'm not going anywhere." The crowd applauded as Elena cut the ribbon to her new store. Photographers snapped pictures. Lights flashed. But none of that mattered compared to the warmth in her chest. She turned to Jason, her eyes shining. "I never thought I'd love again," she whispered. "But you changed that." Jason smiled. "Let's make sure this time it's forever." They kissed, gently, in front of the world. But for them, it felt like they were the only 2 people on Earth. Final scene, the fashion gala. 6 months later, Elena walked onto the red carpet of the International Fashion Gala. She wore her newest collection, bold, beautiful, and full of meaning. Reporters swarmed her, cameras flashed, fans cheered. But Elena stayed grounded. Because none of this was about fame. It was about reclaiming herself. Jason met her at the top of the stairs, in a sharp tux, holding out his hand. "You ready?" he asked. She took his hand. "I've never been more ready." Together, they entered the grand ballroom, walking side by side, not behind each other, not ahead. But equals. Survivors. Partners. And finally, lovers.